Hey, hey, hey. All right, everybody's logging in. As people log in, I'm going to give people a few minutes. Hey, hey. A few minutes to log in. Let's see, I think it starts telling us. Yes. Yes. Hello, Miss Brittany. Hello, Carmen. Everybody who's logging in, tell us where you're logging in from, what city, what state. Let us know where you are logging in from. We want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone who is on here. Tonight is a big night, guys. It's a really big night. So I'm excited as we get our technical parts kind of situated. I want to make sure that we give this some justice. I'm trying to see how I can share this one to my page. So we got Georgia in the building. Of course, we got Bethlehem. We got Allentown.
We got Florida.
Florida. Okay, how can I share this to my natural page?
So you literally...
Alrighty. Logging in, logging in, logging in. Logging in from Bethlehem. That's right. San Antonio, Texas in the building. Yes, so exciting. Okay, share. Copy link, and then I'm just going to put it on my page.
Correct.
Okay, Briningsville, Brooklyn. We got Brooklyn. Hi, Samantha. Bronx, Listen, we have Brooklyn, Bronx. I'm going to have to see some Manhattan in there. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. There's a couple people from Manhattan, so let's see here. Let's paste. Okay. Nope, I can't get it. You want to try getting it?
Yep.
All right, so as we get our stuff situated, welcome. Easton, hi, Nicole. We are pretty much broadcasting live from Bethlehem, PA. I am super excited for today, for what is going to happen in the spiritual realm, but also in the psychological realm. We're definitely breaking stigma right now by bringing in faith, bringing in, what it is that God wants to say, but also what it is that psychology says, right? So today we have a really special guest, and I'm excited to have her with me. We went to school together. We studied together. So it's actually a real privilege to have her here with us. She is a clinician. She works with, troubled youth. So she's going to tell you more about herself and what she does. So if you see me looking at both screens, I'm sorry. We are live on Instagram and on IG because we do want to, give everybody the same service. So for those of you guys who do not know, welcome to Life Beyond the Blade. Okay, this is a ministry based on helping souls, reaching souls for God, and just expanding the kingdom and, reaching inside the world more than beyond the four walls of a church, but expanding to the community, to your local community and beyond. As you see, we have different states. We have different people from everywhere: Bronx, Texas, Kissimmee, Florida. Super excited for everyone logging in. God bless you, Richie. So tonight, our topic is about mental health. It's something that people do not like talking about. It's something that's very it's contradicting sometimes, depending.
Stigmatized,
Yeah. So I'm going to briefly, again, my name is Jacides, but today we have Reet, and she's going to introduce herself. I don't want to, talk too much about her. I'm going to let her do that herself. So who is Reet?
Oh God, how long do we have on this live?
A long time. It's okay.
Long time.
we don't put time on God at all.
My name is Reet. I am a clinician. I work with a local agency, specifically with youth that are runaway, homeless, trafficked. I've worked with youth for probably about 4 to 5 years now, across mental health. So anxiety, depression, trauma, borderline, schizophrenia, just anything you can think of as far as mental health, whatever goes off in your mind when you think mental health, those are the people that I work with on a daily basis. I don't know, what else do you want to know? I'm currently working on getting my doctorate. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, just helping the kids local in the Valley and just getting my education on, working on a doctorate right now.
Working on a doctorate, guys. She works 3 jobs. Let's see here. Let me just make sure that everybody is on here. Oh my God, hold on, because I just clicked off. Okay. So before we get into like the nitty gritty of why we decided to do this live, I do want to put a disclaimer on here. If you have to step away at any moment to get some water, if you have to step away at any moment to catch your breath, please do so. It is not a bad thing. We are human. We all go through it. A lot of the topics that we are going to touch today can and potentially can trigger people who have trauma. So we do want to just pretty much bring awareness to everything that's happening now. So again, if you have to walk away, if you have to tune out, we will not take it offensive. Trust me, we will not take it offensive. Again, we're looking at 2 cameras, IG and Facebook. So please, our apologies. But we want to start off pretty much with what is mental health in general. And I'm going to allow Reet the opportunity to really dig deep into her perspective as a clinician, kind of digging deep into psychology. What is mental health?
So it's such a weighted question, right? It's not something that I can just read a definition and be like, this is it. And this is a cookie cutter definition. And this, if you fit into it, you have mental health problems. And if you don't fit into it, you don't have mental health problems. Mental health is the simplest way to understand it is any issue that impacts your brain and your emotions and your feelings. It can be something like trauma, where something bad happened. And from there, you now feel like you are not able to be loved. There are feelings of anxiety, so you're racing thoughts, you can't sleep at night, insomnia, stress eating is a big one. But the best way to understand mental health in general is that it's any problem that impacts your mind and your emotions and your feelings, and in turn impacts your behavior. So for example, a child that has trauma could act out in school. It could be that they're hitting their peers. It could be that they're being disrespectful to their teachers. It could be that they're throwing chairs across the classroom. A lot of people think, they only see the behavior. They don't see the mental aspect of it or the mental health aspect of it, which is that there's trauma or that there's some other reason for why somebody is acting the way that they're acting.
Correct. So if you can take a moment and share this post, that way it can help somebody else besides the person who's watching this at this moment. So share. So we do want to touch about mental health in different areas, whether it's relationally, all different areas, because we do know that everybody's going through a different situation and we kind of want to meet the need of everyone on this live. So my question to you, when it comes to mental health, who can suffer from mental health?
So once again, it's such an easy question, right? But the truth is anybody and everybody. There is no race, religion, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Anybody and everybody, no matter what age, is able to suffer from mental health issues. For the sake of being able to diagnose and being able to kind of like start seeing issues from mental health relationally, you're probably looking at the age of like 3. Nobody will ever start seeing a kid until they're at least 3, up until whatever age. There's no age. So it doesn't matter.
So there's working in the mental health field. Again, we work in the same background. We worked in Kids Peace together as well in different areas. So we deal with a lot of, children with trauma, okay? And that's the first thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is the inner city youth, the kids that are going through trauma, a lot of kids that are going through poverty, right? Because we have this stigma of pretty much the only people that can suffer from anxiety are people that suffer from poverty or suffer from, a one-home household, a one-parent household. So I really want to kind of take away that stigma in the sense of saying, listen, you don't have to be in poverty,
correct,
to go through these
issues,
these
and
labels,
problems and labels. Exactly.
So my question is this, because a lot of people are questioning, I don't want to take medication, I don't want to do this. Insurance purposes, and we want to clarify that. What is the primary reason for being diagnosed with depression or anxiety for insurance purposes?
Correct. So when you go in, a lot of people think, I'm depressed, or I have depression, I have anxiety, and that becomes their go-to statement. Instead of actually understanding what that means for them, it becomes a label. and it becomes a part of their identity. And the truth is, it's not who you are as a whole, it's a part of what you have. And it's so important to remember that. And the best example I like to use is if you have a broken arm, you're not going to say, oh, I'm a broken arm. No, that's silly and there's no sense. I have a broken arm. So I think changing the language around it is the first step in changing the stigma surrounding mental health. And the other part is, you are not your diagnosis. You are not your label. It's very rare you'll come across someone that doesn't have some form of mental health, whether it's diagnosed or not. But if you are diagnosed, please know it's because insurance companies don't pay providers like myself or you.
Exactly.
Unless we put something on the paper. So I always like to tell like my parents and my youth, like, listen, I'm writing this down, but please do not take it to heart. I have to say this because of insurance companies, and as much as I hate to say it, insurance companies unfortunately run the world, and there's not much I can do or say to change that part, but I can make sure that my clients know and you guys know that you are not your diagnosis. It is but an insurance reason. That is the only reason that we even have like a whole
it's
book
a billing
to tell
situation.
Us. Yeah, it's a billing situation. That's perfect. That's
so
perfect.
You did touch something that, you know, I love to talk about, and it's identity. It's identity, those labels. And you know, I'm gonna touch a little bit on the spiritual aspect of labels, identity, what that does to your psyche. For instance, you know, of course, Life Beyond the Blade is about a place of testimony. I'm not speaking from a place of pain. I'm literally speaking from a place of where I've been. And the crazy thing is, for me, you know, I have a label of divorcee.
Same.
It's like, same, we're divorced, right? It could be considered a label. You know what it is to sign an application? It's like you have to put divorcee. It's kind of annoying because it's like death and resurrection at the same time. It's annoying. But to me, I'm like, you know, these labels, a lot of people can take them and pretty much put those labels on their heart, put them on themselves, put them on their character. And they're like, I am a divorcee, right? And instead of saying I am a divorcee, you can literally change the language and say I was divorced, and that's it. You don't have to kind of take that label and place it on you.
Correct.
And what I find so kind of difficult for this society is, again, like we were speaking about earlier, we live in a microwave society where we want instant gratification, we want things done right away, we want things done at the moment. That's just like our identity. We don't know who we are who we surround ourselves with.
Correct.
Psychology tells you that you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. So evaluate your circles. Take 2 or 3 seconds to evaluate the people who you surround yourself with. If you continue to be around that circle, that's as far as you're going to get. So that's why it's so important to maintain kind of that awareness of who am I letting speak into me and who am I speaking to.
Correct.
So when it comes to identity and all these medications and all this stuff, because medications have side effects.
Correct.
They have side effects. And the question to you is, how does a person who is taking medications not allow that to control their life, their daily living?
So once again, you're here with all the heavy questions, right?
I'm sorry, guys, but we digging deep up in here.
So first and foremost, I want to say, you know, because like 1 in 5 people in this country are diagnosed with mental health, sometimes medications are necessary. They're a necessary evil. It doesn't mean that it's something that you should have to have for the rest of your life. But the truth is that mental health means that something in our brain is not firing correctly. That's the basic of it. Yes. And because it's not firing correctly, we need a little bit of extra help in order for a medication to help it fire correctly. No matter what diagnosis you have, it's always shown in every book I've read and am reading, it's therapy and medication. The reason it's that way is because there is no magic pill. You can take any magic pill you want to, or any pill that you want to, or any medication you want to, but until you do the work to work on your anxiety, work on your depression, work on whatever else that you or have been diagnosed with, you're not going to get better. And that's a problem we run into often is, oh, this isn't working for my kid. He's been on it for a week and he's still, you know, running around the place and he's and hello, you have to
give it time.
You have to give it time. That's number 1. And number 2, a medication is not magic. Unfortunately, there's nothing out there that you're going to be able to take and all of a sudden you're 100%. I can contest to that because I've been on meds before and I'm like, wow, I feel like a zombie. Why do I feel this way? And that's another problem, you know, over medicating. But I think the most important thing to know is if you decide to take that route of medication, it's not the be all end all and it's not the magic answer. And that's the simplest way to do it. You have to put the work in to do the other side as well as the medication.
What I love, and again,
Sorry, I was gonna say.
we're being transparent. She said something so powerful. She said, I've taken medication before. Now, this is the power of being vulnerable and the power of being so transparent, right? In this season of my life is like, I've been there, I've done it, I can admit to it, I can attest to it. You know, we're speaking to you from a place of experience, okay? So we're making that clear. We're speaking from a place of experience. We've done the whole taking pills. We've done the whole feeling like zombies. You know, and what people fail to understand is that they look at professionals and they're like, oh, this person doesn't go through anything. These are the faces behind the people who are helping you.
Right.
Who have been through stuff, who suffers through stuff, who, you know, are helping you and serving you. But inside, sometimes we ourselves need help. And on top of that, it's like we can help and counsel others.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to us, it's like,
it's so hard to take our own advice, right?
Exactly.
I was going to also say, going back to my example of a broken arm.
Yes.
You know, you'll get medication for the pain, but you're going to have to do physical therapy to learn how to use it again, right? And I always use that with mental health because at the end of the day, you can take the meds, but unless you do the work to help teach your brain or relearn something, whether it's fixing a negative thought or fixing a negative distortion in your brain, it's not going to work because there is no magic answer. You have to be willing to put your faith into things, whether it's God or anything else that is a protective factor for you, or you have to be willing to just put in the work. And it's not easy. I know we're sitting here and saying it, but I promise you it is not as easy as we're making it seem. It's a one day at a time process, for sure.
And what I love too is we're speaking from places of, we're going to start touching the most, probably a little bit more deeper details. And it's suicide rates. The suicide rates in United States, around the world, are very high. It's the 10th leading cause to death. The 10th leading cause. That's astonishing.
Yeah, I think it's like double, I believe it's double the number of homicides a year is suicide. It's 10th. You're right. Absolutely. It's especially in people that are younger. I want to say like 18 to like 24, 25, something like that. So it's definitely it's an epidemic, for lack of better words, as someone who has experienced within the family, suicide within the family, as well as someone who has experienced themselves with having these negative thoughts. You're not alone.
Not alone at all. We've been there.
Yeah.
We've tried. Obviously, it didn't succeed.
Thank goodness for that, right?
God had a bigger plans, bigger purpose, because we're able to speak from a place of experience and testimony. What I did want to touch on, too, is relationally. Relationally. I do want to touch on relationships for this very, very reason, is how does trauma and how do mental health diagnoses affect relationships? Because it does deal a lot of people with divorce, because they get divorced because they can't handle, you know, the mood swings. They can't handle the inconsistencies. They can't handle that. So how can we really kind of touch base on that?
So I think it's important to know that the basis of trauma is first getting that trauma processed and getting it taken care of. It's really important to know that more people than not have been through trauma, and there's all different types of trauma, and all of our relationships, our friendships, our romantic relationships, our relationships with our family, they are all impacted by trauma or mental health in general. It, you know, messes us up. We get in arguments over things that we wouldn't normally argue about, right? We get violent if there's domestic violence within it. We make toxic decisions, and you know, it's so interesting because normally we're so used to saying, "Oh, that person's toxic. That person's." Are we looking within ourselves?
We can be toxic.
Are we the toxic person? Because it very well may be the case, and I don't want to say that. You know, it's important to say there's no shame in that. Even owning that and saying, I'm toxic and I need to work on this, can be very empowering and important, because sometimes as human beings, we have the ability to make mistakes. Come on now. Like, that's what makes us human,
it's
right?
Accountability. It's accountability.
Correct.
It's accountability.
Correct. And I think in relationships, we have to just look at the whole and then look at what's going on. If we're in a relationship and that relationship is messing up our mental health, or maybe we let's say we were healthier before the relationship and now all of a sudden we are only doing what our partner wants, or we are only going places our partner wants, only talking to the people our partner wants, or we're cut off. It's happened before.
Yes.
I've gone through it where I've been cut off from my friends because a partner decided that there was no reason for me to be out with friends when I should be home and doing whatever. And I was thinking, oh, well, it's okay. My partner's saying this, but the truth is, no, I was being...
manipulated.
I was being manipulated. That's the best word.
Yeah,
I was being manipulated. And sometimes I was doing the manipulation.
Yes.
Because I learned it. And that's how I knew I could get what I wanted. So that accountability, that's like the big red hot word. Accountability of what we're doing within that relationship, no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be, romantic. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Whoever said that, we point the finger. Meanwhile, we got one finger pointing right back at us. Absolutely. So yeah, I would say just being mindful and getting help. It's so easy. Once again, we're sitting here, we're talking about it, we've been through it, but you have to take that first step. Nobody else can take that but you.
It's crazy because the first thing that they tell you is acceptance is the first key to kind of moving forward. Once you accept something and you accept, okay, this is what it is, this is who I am. Like when you said that sometimes we are the toxic people. Sometimes we have the toxic mentality. Sometimes we are the problem.
Yeah.
And it's because of things that we've internalized, things that we've gone through, things that we've had to process through, our traumas, like relationally, whether it's friendships, romantically, you're coming from two different worlds, coming together, two different backgrounds, okay? You have gone and endured two different things. And when you come together, it's almost as though I have to prove to you that I'm not everybody else that did you wrong.
Correct.
Whether it's relational, family, because family does betray you. Let's take it there.
And the truth is that a toxic individual is a toxic individual, regardless of who they are. Like, people that have trauma, people that have mental health issues that are unfortunately not being treated, those are the problems that are going to continue to manifest negatively in our life. And the truth is, if we have relationship after relationship and it's not working out, what is it that we're doing? What is it? Where's the accountability, and what is it that we could do differently to help that? It's also important to know within relationships that it's okay to reach out to others if you're not able to do it yourself. I think Jassy had touched upon domestic violence and negative relationships and stuff. And, as someone who is a survivor of domestic violence and being in a domestically violent relationship, emotionally, verbally, what have you, I think the most important thing to know is that it's that first step. That first step in saying, listen, I need help. And that's it. Being able to say that no matter who you say it to, a trusted person, obviously, or a provider or a staff or the hospital or a family member you trust or a best friend, whoever it may be. It's so important to be mindful that no matter what, you matter, your life matters, and there is someone out there that needs you and wants you, and you need to make sure that you're being honest with yourself and honest with other people. Somebody said, hurt people, yeah.
Healed people heal people too.
Yeah, healed people heal people. Hurt people, I just read a book. It was called The Wounded Healer, I believe. And I tend to think of myself like that because I've been there, done that. So many different, facets of my personal life, which make me, I would hope, a better clinician for youth and for adults in my life and for my clients. She's telling me to keep going.
Keep going, because we got to charge the phones.
What else? I think the other thing to know is that intergenerational trauma is really important. If you guys don't know what intergenerational trauma is, it just means that it's trauma that has come through our family. So like my grandparents, the trauma they've experienced, how that's impacted my parents, the trauma they've experienced and in turn impacted me, and then so on and so forth, my future children and their children's children. I think it's important to note that the world we live in right now is really scary. I think I just got an update on my phone that there was like another mass shooting, there was another death of a Black brother. There's, hatred out there for Asian Americans. There's just so much happening in the world right now. And I want you guys to know that all is trauma. So I want you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I want you to make sure that you are being really mindful that these videos that are being shared of these traumatizing things and these just the constant social media and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and what have you, whatever social media platform it is, people are sharing these videos. And that in itself is very traumatizing. So be mindful of intergenerational trauma that your families have gone through, and be mindful of stuff that you see online, because it can be really, ooh, I look all bright again, thank you. It can be really detrimental to our everyday mental health and in our existing trauma that that is there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, guys, share this post. Share this post. Again, you spoke on something when I was trying to get the charger about fighting stuff that your family fought, stuff like that, right?
Right. So intergenerational trauma. So like, I don't know, personal example, my grandparents had like lived through the division of two countries, and they had to leave everything in their home and go to another country and basically start from scratch at the age of like 20 and 25. And when I was 25, I had experienced life for a certain degree. So to, restart everything is really scary. And then the impact it had on my parents, and then the impact that, I've had with my parents being immigrants and racism and what have you. So all those things are, someone mentioned intergenerational curses, intergenerational trauma.
We're right here, Carmen.
And even with that, I want to say curses can be broken. They start with us.
Yes.
They start with us. Intergenerational trauma can be broken. It starts with us. We have to talk about it. And once again, you started the question about, who is impacted by mental health. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. She's identifies as Hispanic. I identify as Asian Indian. It does not matter. Everyone has trauma. It might be a little different. It might be called a little bit different. We experience it at different parts of our life. But the truth is that trauma is trauma, and we need to talk about it in our families. We're the ones that can break the stigma, open up our homes, our hearts to things that make us better as individuals, and our children and our children's children, and so on and so forth.
What I do want to touch about on, generational curses, Carmen, we are on one mind, one spirit, thank God, is that generational curses are real. Yes. But generational blessings are real as well. So we have the ability to say it stops with me.
Correct.
Right? So for instance, if you know that, divorce and all that stuff is normal in your family, right? And I'm only touching that subject because we've been talking about it, right? If you know that that's common, you have the ability to say it stops with me. I'm going to do everything that I need to do relationally to get myself right. That way it doesn't have to transfer over.
Correct.
So my thing is this: when you're breaking generational curses, you're also releasing generational blessings. It's also you saying, God, I trust you enough that you're going to align things in the future for me, that whatever you have for me is mine. You're pretty much breaking the stigma of I'm cursed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You don't have to be cursed. It's you can be a curse breaker. You can break the curse and say it stops with me. Divorce stops with me. Abuse stops with me.
Substance use, manipulation,
alcoholism. Everything stops with you. You have the ability to change every day.
Correct.
We wake up every day with a new mindset, right? So the Bible says that, to renew your mind every day. Renew your mind daily. So the Bible doesn't say you get a new mind.
Right.
It doesn't say you get a new mind. It says renew your mind daily. That means you wake up every day with the opportunity to say, today, I'm going to be positive. Today, I'm going to make a difference. Today, I'm going to take my pain and turn it into purpose. Today, I'm going to do something different. So being in the field that you're in, as a clinician and working with young youth, I want to make this very clear to all the parents listening. And it's been kind of tugging at my spirit because I hear it so much. Oh, he's just a kid. She's just a kid. Just kids turn into just teens that turn into teen adolescents. Then they turn into just adults that are just messed up because you go through so much trauma that you don't address, that it's almost like you're afraid to touch those areas. It's like your heart has just a bunch of bandages and you don't get to the root cause. So when you say it stops with me, you can literally say, listen, I'm going to go see a therapist.
Correct.
I've seen a therapist. Have you?
Yeah, I've been in therapy for like 7 years now. 6 years, 7 years. Yeah, a long time.
So you have people that are in the mental health field check this out, because I want to make this clear for everybody who's watching. If you're seeing someone, or if you plan on seeing someone, you have two people in the field of mental health, and we see people, we talk to people, because we can't talk ourselves out of our own problems, because we are imprisoned in our own mind. We are in bondage in our own minds, because we're so used to helping and serving other people,
right,
that it's like, it can't touch my house. Yes, it can. Mm-hmm. Depression can touch your house as a professional, as
Absolutely.
a minister, as a leader. It can touch at your door, and you need to be prepared and see the signs and symptoms. So what are signs and symptoms of mental health? Or can you see like a red flag, or something that you're like, that seems like there's more there? Like, what can you say are signs and symptoms of mental health?
Yeah, so the hot one is depression, right? So that's the one that has the best, I don't say best, but the most symptoms that you can see. Depression includes something called anhedonia. It means basically that you don't get pleasure out of things that you would normally get pleasure out of. So if you're a child, or you're teen, or you're adolescent, or even yourself, if you like to play video games and you don't play video games anymore, okay, that's kind of weird. You used to play them all the time. Mm-hmm. If you don't hang out with friends anymore, it's very hard to get out of bed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big one, not getting out of bed. I've gone through that myself.
All the time.
Like, it was a struggle. It was a job in itself to actually physically get out of bed, because it was that I was so disheartened by what was going on in my life at the beginning of when I first started going to therapy. And other things, hygiene is a big thing. People don't not want to take a shower or brush their teeth, but they are just so depressed. They are so just stuck in that hole of sadness.
You don't want to do the mundane
You don't
things.
want to do the things that
like
are daily things.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So lack of showers. I think isolation is the biggest one. If a person is isolating, whether it's depression or anxiety or anything of that nature, that's a big one. No longer talking to family, no longer talking to friends. Yes, somebody said stuck in the pit. Exactly. You just can't get out of it. It's almost like the world is moving around you and you're in the water. And I've always explained mine like this. Maybe you can explain it yours a little bit differently or the same way. When I was at the pit of my depression, I felt like I was in the water, and I felt like I knew how to swim. I just did not have the energy
to move your legs,
to move my legs, to move my arms. I know how to swim. I've been swimming my whole life, but I just could not bring myself to do the physical activity. And that's what I felt. It felt like I was drowning.
It's amazing, because people can signify depression. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, like, this person is sad. Let me tell you something. There's people that look happy, that are extremely depressed, that are facing depression, and they're deep in their pit, but they don't want to realize it, because they're like, I don't want that label. But again, we get back to labels and identity. It's like, I have things that, can constitute mental health, anxiety, depression, and I'm a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a human being. We're human beings.
It's hard to admit.
To an extent, but I feel like the more that you and I, like somebody that's in the field, does it, the easier it's going to be for you guys that may not necessarily be in the stigma field, right? Mm-hmm. Once again, if you broke your arm, and I always go back to this example, if you break your arm, are you gonna be afraid to call me and tell me that you broke your arm? No, you're gonna be like, yeah, I broke my arm, right? Why is it that physical health is so easily talked about, and mental health is like, shh, don't tell nobody.
Don't say nothing.
What will people say? What are people gonna think? And that's what we together have to work on. We have to work on destigmatizing it, talking about it, and you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations, because those uncomfortable conversations can save a life, including yours.
Not only that, now you did touch something, and I really want to kind of dive deep into this topic. And it's, how does social media, how does media itself influence mental health? And we were, having a dialogue earlier today, and I'm just like, it's crazy how all these TV shows, show this and show that, and they become triggers. I want everyone on here to be mindful of what you're watching. Be mindful what you're feeding your spirit, because what you input into your spirit, you're releasing. So when you think the music you listen to is nothing, music literally, when it hits your brain and hits your mind, you start feeling emotions. What I find so marvelous about music is that you never understand a song until you're sad and you go and listen to the lyric.
Correct.
Okay? Because there's songs that you go to because you're like, this song makes me feel so good when I'm down and depressed. And then you wonder why you're still in that pit 6 months later, because you're listening to the same song.
Right.
You're not turning it off. You're not altering it. You're not feeding your mind what you should be feeding it. And what is amazing is TV, media, how they influence, how they throw little darts here and there. It's a form also of manipulation in a sense.
Yeah, to a
where
certain
it's
degree.
just like you have the manipulation, but you also have the informative side where it's like we have to be mindful. Okay, like, do you feel like it's manipulating you? Do you feel like it's triggering you? Shut it off. Like for me, 13 Reasons Why, because I suffered from suicidal thoughts and I suffered from going through that process, right? It was a trigger for me, Reed.
Of course.
It was a huge trigger.
That show was very triggering for a lot of people.
Like, I couldn't watch it. I probably watched like the first 2 episodes, I would say, because I was just intrigued.
Yeah.
Because like the mental health side of me was like, I need to see what everyone is talking about.
Right.
Because it was so controversial too.
Yeah, and it was so popular for a while.
So I was like, I need to see what people are talking about in this show. And when I started seeing it, I was like, nope, I'm not strong enough for it. And I'm in the field.
So can I say what you just made me think of? She just set a boundary for herself. She set a boundary for herself. That's like my favorite B word. I promise.
That's a favorite B word.
Favorite B word. Boundaries. So it is so important for us when we are dealing with mental health, or when we see other people deal, like our children or our parents or whatnot, deal with mental health, to set boundaries. You are in charge of how other people treat you.
Yes.
And if you feel in your pit, and I feel like maybe with age, it's gotten better. You know, when I was 16, 17, I was invincible. Nothing could hurt me. But now that I'm, 5 years older, can I lie about my age on
you
here?
You can lie about your age. It's okay.
So I'm 21, right? No, I'm not. But so, it's so important to set those boundaries. And boundaries are important in every aspect of everything.
Yes.
Professionally.
Yes.
I had an incident last week where I had a very heavy day at work, and God bless my boss, she's amazing. I was like, listen, I texted her and I was like, listen, I need to take a personal day. I had a very heavy day and I have to step away from work for a second because I just can't. And obviously she was like, no problem, take the day, no problem. The same thing goes, the same thing happens within romantic relationships. If you feel like you're stuck, if you're feeling in your relationship like, I feel like this is hurting me more than helping me, or maybe that love is there, but you're just exhausted and you just can't anymore, take a step back from that relationship. Same thing with friendships, with family. It doesn't matter. You set a boundary for yourself. You were like, listen, this is not good for me. This is not good for my mental health. And you turned it off. And that was probably the best thing you did for yourself that day.
Yeah.
Was to say, I don't need this in my life. And that's another problem. We get so used to people breaking our boundaries that we forget that we have the ability to set them. And we have to remind ourselves consciously every day to set boundaries, because it's, like I said, my favorite B word, and it'll make your life heck of a lot easier. And it'll help, like you said, it'll help feed the blessings. It'll help feed the positivity. And you'll almost feel like a weight is lifted off your shoulders. You'll feel like, man, I did this. Maybe if it's a little thing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like, you setting physical boundaries with someone, that's like a really big problem in your life. That's not what it is. But even tiny things, tiny things can be setting boundaries. I make it a point to turn off all social media, all TV, all everything for at least 60 minutes on a weekend, at least. And that's like the bare minimum. I've set that boundary. There's so much out there. Somebody mentioned they don't watch TV. There's so much out there that can be triggering, that can be negative, and just feeds that go fast lifestyle that we have in this country.
Yes.
And my mind is racing and my thoughts are racing, and that's why I don't have my phone in bed anymore. My thoughts, I'm insomniac. I can't sleep at night, and I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling TikTok. I love TikTok.
TikTok has you on. Let me tell you something. TikTok, I don't know what TikTok did, but TikTok be having you on there for hours just watching videos.
And they are the dumbest things, but they're so funny, so I watch them. But yeah, you have to set those boundaries for yourself. I recognize, like, damn, I'm on this for hours. I could have spent that time reading, taking a bath.
Yes.
I could have been sleeping, but instead for hours I'm just scrolling. So bad that TikTok told me, hey, you've been scrolling for a couple hours. Maybe you should stop.
You need a break.
I needed an intervention.
You need a break from TikTok. What I find so interesting too is that we have the ability to, again, say it stops with me.
Right.
But setting, again, boundaries. It's amazing how we allow people to treat us. And I'm going to speak from experience. I'm not going to speak from a place I haven't been. I'm speaking from experience. I have allowed disrespect, right? Because I didn't value myself. I didn't value who I was, in Christ. I didn't value who I was, my identity in God. So I allowed people to disrespect me. And I'm like, you know what? Familiarity, when they're too familiar, familiarity breeds disrespect. It's like, I'm so used to you that I could disrespect you.
Correct.
And that's where we become so kind of like in our feelings, like, why are people treating me this way? Why are people talking about me this way? Why are people doing this? And then we don't evaluate what we do. We allowed it because we allowed them to step further than what our boundaries are.
Correct.
Because we don't want to lose people. And this is the thing. People rather be with people that don't respect them.
Correct.
Just to say that they have someone. I'm going to just stay around everybody that doesn't like me just to say that I have friends, to say that I have people. And I think that's something that God is trying to get a lot of people out of, to find their true identity and to say, listen, I know who I am in Christ and who he made me to be, and I'm going to be confident and I'm going to walk in it, you know. And it's like we were talking before, body image and all this other stuff. Like, the spirit of comparison is so real. We are constantly comparing ourselves to each other. I can look at her and I could say, Jossie, you are the same age as Reet, and you should have everything that she has. You should be going for your doctorate. And at the same time, I'm just like, we have two different backgrounds.
Right.
I have a heck of a lot of student loans, which I probably think you have.
I do. I have a lot of those.
She probably got student loans too. But it's like, you don't know people's like situations. So it's just like, the desire is there for me to go to school and continue my education, right? But the funds aren't right now.
Right.
Because I also believe in faith that God will provide and he will allow me to finish my degrees and everything that I've been wanting to do in due season. That's the thing. When you learn to celebrate people in their seasons, God also blesses you, because I could have been a hater and I could have been like, listen, I could do this life all by myself. And I was like, no, there's someone who I could say, hey, it's your turn, tap in. I need you.
Right.
Like, I need your professionalism to help everybody else that's on the other side of the screen. Because there's things that you've experienced, people that you've helped, that I haven't been able to reach.
Yep.
So the point of reaching souls and reaching different people from different backgrounds is to have different personalities. Because I'm sure, like, Reet in her mind, she's probably like, I'm shy, but at the same time, I'm outgoing.
Yeah.
Jossie's just out there. Jossie's just very vocal.
Right.
And doesn't care, doesn't have a filter, which people would be yelling at me all the time.
You're right.
But, you know, it's different personalities, because people attract different things, different audiences. But the whole point of that is, don't compare yourself. Like, don't compare yourself. Like, you are beautiful inside and out. I am beautiful inside and out.
Agreed. You
guys are beautiful and handsome inside and out. And you are a reflection outside of how you feel inside.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the best thing you said was, you know, we get used to the way people treat us. And the other part of that is that people treat us the way we allow them to treat us. And it goes back to my favorite B word. You guys already know what it is. You know,
boundaries.
We have to set them. If we don't set them, people will treat us.
Yes.
And they're going to get used to it. And unfortunately, more times than not, it's negative the way that we're treated. And it's because we put up with it. And then we get so, and somebody mentioned it, I think, trauma bonding. That's one of them. There's a few other ones out there. You know, we get so used to it, we start believing what other people say about us. And, you know, the easiest way to explain it, I was just explaining it to like maybe a 16-year-old earlier yesterday. He said something, right? And I said to him, I said, if you walk into a cafeteria in your high school, COVID aside, I said, and you see your friends at a lunch table over there, and they look up and they look at you and they start laughing. I said, what are you going to start thinking? He's
That
like,
they're talking about you.
He's like, that they're talking about me. I said, how are you going to feel? He was like, well, I'm going to be upset. Why are they talking about me? They're my friends. I was like, what are you going to do? He was like, I'll probably be embarrassed and I'm going to leave. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, slate clean, try it again. Let's say you walk into the cafeteria, you look up, you see your friends, they look up and they're laughing. I said, give me something else. What's another thought that could cross your mind? And he said, well, maybe that they told a joke. And I said, okay, so then what are you going to feel? He's like, I'm going to feel like I should go up to him and hear what the joke is. And I'm like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to go up to him and they probably told a joke and they're going to tell me, we're going to laugh, everything's fine. And something as simple as that, he was like, oh, and it was
Shifting
so funny,
mindset,
right?
your perspective.
Because that perspective change, that little change of, instead of them talking about me, maybe it's just something funny and I should go over. That distortion in our mind, we are in control of that, nobody else. Now, he could have been like my other kids and been like, well, they could have been talking about me and I went up to them and they were talking about me. That's completely different, right? But it does happen. But the truth is it's in our hands. The thoughts in our minds are to an extent in our hands. I know we touched upon medication, but
Yes.
we have to make sure that when we have these thoughts, are they valid? Is there logic to them? Is there anything that's evidenced that that's what's really happening? And I think that also really helps when we're depressed and feeling like nobody loves me. Okay, nobody loves you, but your best friends check on you every day.
Yes.
You text, you call, you FaceTime, your family, your school friends, your teachers. Is it really true that nobody loves you? Is it really, try challenging those thoughts in your mind and challenge if they're actually valid. And that really helps when you're having those symptoms of depression that we talked about earlier, or anxiety, or anything else that may be going on.
It's powerful that you keep on repeating the word valid. And again, we're speaking from places of experience, stuff that we've encountered. The power of validation is so important.
Oh my God, yeah.
Whether it's for trauma, whether it's for anything. When you validate something, you're saying, yes, it happened. I did it. You take a full accountability. And you're saying, you know what? I acknowledge that, I suffer from this, but this doesn't have to have me. Like, for instance, myself, I have my days that I'm depressed. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm perfect, because I'm not. I deal with depression and I fight it off every day. And I'm like, I'm depressed. And it's almost as though I have to switch my perspective of saying, I suffer from depression, but depression doesn't have me.
Correct.
Like, it doesn't have control over me. Once you start letting the diagnosis of mental health, or the diagnosis of everything, or the label of something say it is who I am, you begin to identify with it and say, this is me. That's when the problem begins. Because you're no longer separating the two.
Right. And I think that's going back to what we started with. Our diagnosis, our mental health, it's not us as a whole.
Yes.
Right? It's a part of us. Just like I have multiple facets. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a best friend. I am a friend. I am a coworker, a colleague, an employee. I'm so many things. I'm also anxious often.
Yes.
I also have, some lingering symptoms of depression here and there. But that's not all I am. There's so much more to me than that.
Yes.
And, you've mentioned God and the Holy Spirit on a number of occasions, even before in our conversation and even via this live. And I think at the end of the day, it's so important to surround ourselves with protective factors.
Yes.
Those protective factors, if it's God, that's awesome. If it's spirituality, that's awesome. If it's religion, if it's meditation, if it's a combination of all of them, all these protective factors are really, really great. And no matter where you can get it, you should.
Yes.
Right? You should reach out. And if you can't, if it's too heavy, it's okay. And there's so many other people that are willing to help carry your arm, or, hook your arm in and walk
and help
with you and help you. And there's luckily in the Lehigh Valley, we have so many providers, resources, programs. And, as much as I moaned and complained about COVID, the truth is it's really opened up telehealth, and it's opened up a whole new world of therapy and the way you can get help. You can be across the country and have a therapist down in California, right? I mean, I'm going to be jealous because it's like crappy outside and you're in the sun. But outside of that, it's opened up such a whole new world of availability. And that's one thing that technology has been awesome for, I think, is making mental health, like telehealth therapy and things like that more available. I know there's an app out there. I'm not sure I remember the name, but there's definitely an app out there for mental health as well, where you can can and then it's like therapy through text. If you're not at that place where you don't want to talk to someone yet, but maybe texting's easier, especially for the younger kids or even the older kids, doesn't matter. So many resources out there.
Now, we mentioned, different resources and all this other stuff. So I do work for the Conference of Churches in the Lehigh Valley, which we assist housing, we help the homeless. We do so many different things as a community. And I do want to extend that information to those of you who are online, who are suffering from things and are like, hey, I'm struggling paying my bills, or hey, I'm struggling doing this. There are so many resources out there that can assist you. Be mindful of where you're at, what county you're at, how many people can help you. It's like the Bible says that his people perish for a lack of knowledge. And we can use that in the psychological term too, in the sense of we don't have because we don't ask or we don't research. Right. It's okay to look for help. And I just want to put that out there. If you know anybody who's going through homelessness, if you know anybody who right now is going through a lot of,
Financial
disparities, yeah. And even, alcoholism, OUD, anything that has to do with opioids. There's so many programs out there that can assist you, that can help you, that can uplift you. You're not alone. And that's the thing, that mental health can make you feel like you're by yourself, because we've been there. It's
absolutely
that isolation, like nobody understands me, nobody's gonna know what I'm going through. Nobody, a lot of people understand what you're going through. You're not alone. You're looking at two professionals in the mental health field that are looking at you and saying you are not alone, because we're there too. We are there too. That's why the power of transparency is so important. So if you need help, please reach out. The Lehigh Valley Conference of Churches, we are on Allen Street in Allentown, and we are more than willing to help. If you know anybody going through homelessness, we serve you guys on a weekly basis. We serve. It's not that we, give. No, we serve you. We serve you, because that is our job as believers, is to serve those around us, because that's how God honors. And for me, what I did want to touch upon was one book that I have read, which my best friend Frances, I know that you're going to watch this on replay because I know you're busy, that she put me on to, and it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, okay? And this book, okay, I'm going to put it just on the screen, that way everybody can pretty much see it. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself has helped me with character development, in a sense of it helps you kind of break down your mind and face reality, your traumas, all of the stuff that you've encountered, pretty much that programmed your mind to be how they are. Because we are what we program our minds to be. So we have the ability to break those habits, to transform our minds, to renew our minds, but also do it in a psychological term, where you can say, listen, I understand that I have problems with trauma. I understand that I have problems with this, but it doesn't have me. Because a lot of people on here do not know. And if I get emotional, I'm sorry, but I'm about to be so transparent.
You're good.
I got a clinician and a therapist next to me, so I'm good. I'm good. So I suffer from epilepsy. Okay, so I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and it's very frustrating for me. I live by myself. So there's days where I have my seizures and I wake up and I'm just like, what just happened? And it's almost so my brain feels like if electricity just went through it and just fried my brain. There's moments where my speech is like slurred. There's moments that I forget a lot of things, and I have to constantly remind myself, right? And I'm like, okay, like, Jossie, like, remember this. And then I had a car accident that pretty much made it even worse because, of the trauma to my head. And again, I'm being so transparent on this channel because I want people to get to know my ministry, to get to know why I'm helping people the way that I am, is because I've been there. I had to go through therapy. I had to go through speech therapy, where I don't like admitting it. I don't like being vulnerable about it, because I don't like entering and allowing people into my personal space. But after that car accident, I literally had to go to speech therapy, and they kind of had to help me develop, again, my speech, my memory, my cognitive, there's so many things that, your brain is so powerful, and people don't understand that. So imagine having a diagnosis where, your brain is the one that's affected.
Right.
Not only do I have epilepsy, but I suffer from what's called a Manreet brain malfunction, which a lot of people don't know because I'm not vulnerable. And this is hard for me to admit, but again, I'm being transparent. Pretty much where your cerebellum is lower than what it's supposed to be, so the airflow doesn't go to your brain properly. Okay, so pretty much your brain kind of expands, and you get a lot of pressure headaches. You get, it's extremely excruciating. So for me, I suffer from, again, the anxiety, the depression. So imagine all those labels: anxiety, depression, brain malfunction, trauma, all of these different things. For me, it's difficult sometimes, again, to wake up in the morning, where I'm just like, okay, I have to wake up in the morning, like, okay. But it's that's why having the spiritual aspect is so important, because you learn to create those labels. And in the last 3 days, I've kind of switch the language, like you said, perspective. And instead of it being a label, I'm like, this is a medal of honor, because girl, you doing it.
Heck yeah.
It's a medal of honor. Like, girl, you have epilepsy, but you get up in the morning.
Right.
You suffer from anxiety and depression, but you get up in the morning. It doesn't have you. Like, you push through it.
Correct.
So whoever's on here who is suffering from these different things, whether it be anxiety, depression, all of these different labels, right? I want you to know that you can do anything that you put your mind to, anything that your spirit, that your mind is leading you to do, you can do. Because at the end of the day, one, God will give you the strength to do it. But at the same time, we have to defy the odds. And this is why I always say, but like the slogan of Life Beyond the Blade is defying the odds by exposing my scars. By me exposing my scars to you and being this vulnerable, I am saying that it stops with me. My children will not suffer for me not being vulnerable or me not being open.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I'm glad that I have a clinician next to me that can say, Jossie, like, maybe you can switch your thinking. Maybe you can, because I'm not always right.
Right.
You know, so it's like when I say, listen, I need help because today I don't want to wake up, or today I don't want to, you know, even exist. Guys, I'm 31. And again, we suffered from anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, suicide actually in there. And the last thing that I remember, you know, while going through my process was being 4 days in the hospital with my dad. And if I get emotional, guys, I'm sorry. But I remember being 4 days in the hospital with my dad. My dad's a pastor. So you can imagine the labels.
Right.
How does a pastor's kid have to be? Perfect.
You're perfect.
Perfect. You don't go through nothing. And I'm here, like, I don't even want to exist.
Right.
I don't want to live. I don't want to live. And I'm a pastor's kid. How can I be an example to the congregation when I myself don't want to exist? Right. As a 31-year-old, I still tell myself there's days that I'm so frustrated and angry that I'm driving my car and I'm going quick and I'm racing and I'm like, how fast do I have to go to hit that corner? That way Jossie doesn't exist anymore. Will anybody care? So I want to make this known to people that are on here and watching. You have professionals that are going through this, that are facing their demons and looking them in their eye and saying, listen, it stops with me. Like, I can be depressed and I can have it, but it's not going to have me. I refuse to like leave my loved ones behind because of what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I respect that. And I just want to thank you for sharing that, because it is hard to be vulnerable, regardless of it being through a channel or regardless of it being with me. And thank you for being safe. Feeling safe and for sharing that with me and with everybody here. I think it's also really important to know that you're not alone. Always, always, always. I know that, you know, it's important to be in charge of our mental health and make sure that we're doing what we need to do. But the truth of the matter is that there is strength in vulnerability, and there is strength in asking for help.
And numbers. Who you surround yourself with.
Correct.
Numbers.
And you know, it's okay to ask for help. You are actually probably showing them more strength than someone who's not.
Yes.
God forbid someone, you know, ends up taking their life or is engaging in self-harm or has a successful suicide. You know, everyone is valid. Everyone's life matters. Everyone needs to speak on what they're going through in order to let their friends, their family, whoever know, regardless of the labels, right? So those labels that you thought people had of you, as a pastor's daughter, right? And everything that comes along with that. Myself, as you know, the daughter of immigrants, like they left their whole country to be in the United States. Like, how dare I not, you know, do X, Y, and Z and be the best that I can be? And I think it's just a matter of making sure that through it all, you're not alone. Number one, there is always someone there. The other thing I want to touch upon is our experiences do not get well, let me back up. I've had youth, I've had adults, I've had people tell me before, well, it's okay, I'm going through this because so-and-so has it worse. And it's okay that I'm dealing with this depression because so-and-so tried to kill themselves yesterday. And I think it's so important to remember that regardless of what anyone else or you are going through, your emotions and feelings are still valid. Just because it's not as bad as someone else, it doesn't mean that you don't matter or yours don't matter. You are still valid and loved and appreciated and needed in this world, regardless of someone else going through it worse. Because the truth of the matter is, and you guys can probably contest to this, someone's always going to have it worse than us. But that doesn't invalidate our experiences and what we're doing. Oh, of course.
And the tables turn. So it's important not to judge or throw judgment on people who are going through it, because a lot of, and I'm going to be very open with this because I suffered it. I've encountered people that have done overdose. And a lot of the things that they would tell me is, how can I explain myself to people when all they do is judge?
Right.
How can I tell them that I feel this way if all they do is judge? So be mindful. Please be mindful. If someone is coming to you, and I want to say this so clear, if someone is coming to you with a problem or a concern about themselves, refrain from judgment and extend help. If you can't extend help, listen, close your mouth. Because it's better to close your mouth and mute it,
right,
than to speak something that you yourself can be the trigger of that person, pretty much doing whatever they want to do.
Right.
Okay? We are all humans. We all suffer differently. And our sin, we all sin. Let's put it out there. We all sin, maybe differently, but the foot of the cross is even. No sin is greater than the other. You can be a liar, a cheater, an adulterer, a fornicator. You can be whatever you want to be. You can do, it's the same thing as gossip.
Right.
No sin is bigger than any other sin. So stop comparing sin, because it's the same thing. It's sin, and the foot of the cross is even. So I am no one to judge you if you're going through it. No one. She is no one to judge you if you're going through it. Again, if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to anyone professionally and you want to reach out to us,
absolutely,
our social media is open. This is the point of this ministry, is to reach out to people. If you don't have access to professionals, you have people who have access and connections to other people.
Right.
But I do want to, I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want, if you can give any advice before we close out and descend, if you can give any advice to people who are suffering from mental health and labels, what would it be?
I would say it's what we've been preaching the whole time, is that you're not alone. Because I think that's something that it took me a lot of years to understand. Because going through what I went through within the abusive relationship, the divorce, the this, that, so forth,
Yes.
the feelings of not being good enough, I was surrounded. My family was with me. My sisters were with me. My best friend was with me. And I don't even know if she knows, but I felt so alone. I felt like nobody knew what I was going through. And maybe in that moment, if somebody had come to me and shaken me and said, I'm right here.
Yes.
Maybe I would have, oh, okay, you are, But I think being that I'm spiritual, religious, what have you, I would say it's important to know that you're never alone, because even if you are alone within the home, God is always with you.
Yes.
Even if it is just one person, you're still not alone.
Correct.
Right? And I would say you guys are not alone. You have this forum, Life Beyond the Blade. There are crisis lines in every county. Northampton, Lehigh, I'm just going off the local ones obviously, but Northampton, Lehigh, Berks, Carbon, in this area, in the Lehigh Valley, every single county has a crisis line. It's as simple as a Google. You literally put the county, Northampton, for example, and put crisis line, and it gives you the number right away. We have National Suicide Line, which is nationwide. They now recently opened up a texting option. You can text that line. A personal fave is the Hope Line. I know I've used it on multiple times. So it's not if you're necessarily suicidal, but if you just need hope. Because the truth is, the basis of all these mental health issues is that we're hopeless. And we have to keep hope, and that's why I love the Hope Line, is because that's what they help us do, is keep hope, and have great conversations. And sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that doesn't know us, which is another reason I love those lines. And rest assured, any conversation had with myself or her will be completely confidential. There's so many resources. If you need resources, let us know. Whether it's me reaching out to her or she reaching out to me to get those resources, that's the point of having great friends and a great network, is being able to get people the help. And yes, thank you. My awesome colleague T mentioned that if there's homelessness, calling 211 is the best way to get on wait lists and get more information. Conference of Churches, obviously, with Jossie here. But, there's help available. And even when you feel alone, I promise you, on everything I love and God, you are not.
Yes.
So that would be my My
Your
2
advice.
cents for my
Your advice.
I don't give advice. I'm not supposed to give
Oh,
advice.
hold on. We can't give advice. It's clinically and morally incorrect if we give advice. Let me put on my professional
I
hat.
can make a recommendation.
Yes. Now we gotta get technical because it's like we can't say advice. Listen, the mental health field is very complicated. Like what you can and cannot say. It's very complicated.
You cannot confirm or deny.
Exactly. That's my line. I always say. I can't confirm or deny that, but I'll just write my note. Like when you don't know, you just write a note.
Always.
So I am going to put this out there as we again close out. I want to thank everybody who has logged on to this live. Please share this post because something in this conversation may help somebody save their lives. That's the first thing. Second thing, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. We're all on different journeys. We're all on different walks. And nobody knows what happens behind closed doors besides you and the person behind there, or even just you. So I pray that this live has touched you guys, impacted you guys. Again, share this post, help somebody out. If you need to talk and you feel comfortable enough, we are here to serve you. We're here to help you. We're here to guide you guys. That is the point of Life Beyond the Blade. You're not by yourself. You're not alone. And then on top of that, I want to thank Reet for her time, because clinicians are expensive. They're expensive. So, to have her here is an honor. And I really I want to thank you for your vulnerability, for your accountability. I love it. I'm very big on accountability, of taking responsibility of when you do wrong. So your accountability, just your presence, it's so positive and so loving.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting me into your home. Thank you guys for allowing me to talk to you. And hopefully, like I said, if you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out. Reach out to me, reach out to her, to me, or what have you. There's a lot of resources available, and we'd be more than happy to get you set up with any of them.
Anything. We just want to help. That's it.
This is true.
This is the new remnant, guys. This is the new remnant. This is people who are going to help serve people. So God bless each and every one of you guys. God keep you. God multiply everything that you guys do. And again, this is Life Beyond the Blade, defying the odds by exposing my scars and everybody else's scars. So you tuned into episode 4 about mental health. Share. God bless you. God keep you. See you later.
Bye, guys.
How do you feel? Hold on. How do you save? And now.